All right, welcome back to Francis Kelsey School, Pre-Calculus 11. We are now moving on to Learning Guide 11. This is still dealing with radicals, and it's part 2, and this deals with radical equations now. All right, so topic 3. So we have radicals now that are in equation form, so now you see an equal sign. And we're dealing just with one radical for the first part, and then we'll move into 2 radicals. Okay, a key thing in this is your tool of the graphing calculator. Your graphing calculator is very useful in this because it allows you to check, really important, for extraneous roots to see if your answer is a true answer or is extraneous. So therefore your answer might be a no solution. Okay, so let's have a look at this first example. So we're solving that equation. The first thing you want to do is isolate the radical. So I'm going to take that 3 and bring it over to the other side to join a 5. So we have 5 take away 3, we get 2. Now, the next step, we want to square both sides because a square and a square root, these two right here, they cancel each other out. So that's why we're left with that. And in math, what you do on one side, you have to do to the other side. So I have to square the 2. So 2 squared is 4. So now, a little bit of algebra, move that positive 1 to the side, it becomes minus 1, and 4 take away 1 is 3. Okay, so now let's check to see if this is a true solution. So now what I want you to do is get your calculator out and go to your graphing mode, which is your y equals. And let's just clear what's in there from before. Now what we're going to do is we are going to enter in what our equation is. So our equation for the first one is going to be the square root. So find your square root. So second square root. It's x plus 2, so x plus 1. All right, and then move outside. Plus 3. And now I move the 5 over because I want it to equal 0. So move the 5 over so it becomes minus 5. And then in y2, see right here, y2, you want to have a 0 because I'm going to graph this and find the 0. So now I hit graph. All right, so now we look at our answer. The answer that we got using our algebra was 3. So now I'm going to do a trace because a trace is to see if it is an answer. So you hit trace, type in 3, and go enter. Now if you get a 0 in the y equals, you have a solution because that's where the graph crosses the 0 line. So I say, hooray, I have an answer. My algebra was right, and I can move on. All right, so there's a couple try these. Let's do a few of these together and just see that we are doing it right. All right, so let's look at the first one. Remember the first step is isolate the radical. I want this to be by itself. So that is going to move over, so it becomes minus 3. So I have 3x plus 4 equals 4. Okay, the next step was square both sides, because a square gets rid of a square root. So it's 3x plus 4 equals 16. Now we are going to isolate the variable, so I'm going to move that over, so like terms. So 3x equals, and that becomes a minus 4, 12. Then we are going to divide by 3, so x equals 4. All right, so like every question with equations, we want to see if we are right. So now we go to our calculator, go to our y equals. Now we are going to type in, so let's clear that. We are going to type in the equation. So it's 3 plus second square root 3x plus 4, and get out of the radical, and move that 7 over to the side so it becomes a minus 7. And we have that y equals 0, that y2 equals 0, very important. Now graph. Now our answer was 4, so we're going to go trace 4, enter, and we have a 0, which means we did it right. All right, so let's try B. All right, now we have a number in front of the radical, so that means 2 times that, so that's easy. Opposite times is divide. So now we're left with x plus 6 equals negative 2. Okay, our next step is square both sides. That's how you get rid of a radical. So x plus 6 equals 4. Then we want to move like terms together, so we isolate the variable. So that becomes minus 6. So that is minus 2. All right, so let's go to our calculator and just run a check to make sure that is a solution or not. So we go to our y equals, we clear what was in there, and we type in a new question. 2 square root x plus 6, x plus 6. Now we move the the negative 4 over, and that becomes positive 4 on that side. And we got our 0 in there, so very important. Hit graph. Now we do a trace, because our answer was negative 2, and hit enter. And we don't get a 0. If you look there, there is no 0. So this is a prime example of a no solution. So you would say EXT. That is extraneous because it's not a solution. So you must say in the answer box, it's a no solution. Because if you go back to your graph and just have a look at your graph, remember we're looking for where this graph right here crosses the 0 line, which is the x-intercept. There is nowhere. It doesn't cross. So that's how we know that there's no solution. Okay, let's go on to the next example. All right, so we are going to move the 8 over. We're isolating, so we're adding an 8. So we have the square root of 3y over 5 equals 6. Then we square both sides to get rid of the radical. So 3y over 5 equals 36. Now, because I see this as a fraction, I'll make that a fraction. And now I cross multiply to solve. I always do the y first. So 3y times 1 is 3y. And now we switch. That times that. So 36 times 5 is 180. And divide by 3, divide by 3. So let's just go over here. Y equals 60.